Changemakers! Thank you for tuning into the Hacking the Patriarchy podcast. I'm your fervent feminist host, Raven O'Neill, and I get the honors of sitting down weekly with diverse experts from all walks of life to explore ideas, opportunities, and strategies that we can all use to hack our way to better lives within patriarchal societies. If you're ready to hack patriarchal systems and structures, I invite you to join us and help move the needle. Hey, listeners. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to Becky McCleery. Becky is a strategy and operations consultant for heart-centered service providers and the founder of the Solopreneur Sisterhood. A former teacher who transitioned to an online business, she has evolved from virtual assistant to online business manager to director of operations. As a consultant, she helps entrepreneurs build purposeful, profitable, and sustainable businesses that support their priorities. Please join me in offering Becky a warm and heartfelt welcome to our conversation today. Thank you for joining me today, Becky. I'm excited to have you on the show. Today, we are going to be talking about community, especially community around women-centric communities, women supporting women. I think a great starting place is to get a little bit about your background and kind of how we got here, because we know each other. We're in a community together. So I think just kind of getting your backstory would be a really great starting place.
Yes. Well, first, I just want to thank you so much, Raven, for having me here today. I appreciate you. I love the work that you're doing, and I'm honored to be able to join you here today. So, trying to keep this kind of short, I started off as a teacher. I'm one where since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a teacher, and then I became a teacher, and I also became a mom a couple years into teaching, and I realized that kind of that vision I'd had for my life wasn't actually what I wanted. And so I, was in my mid-20s trying to figure out what do I want to do. And I knew at that time that I wanted to be more present. I had the time for my daughter, and then I had a son and another daughter. And it took me years to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to help other people. So I discovered life coaching, and I did the whole certification for that, only to realize that I was great at coaching, but I didn't know anything about building a successful business. So I had a number of, start, stop, kind of quit, give up, just, try to figure things out again, and then start over again. Cycles. It took me quite a while. And through that, I connected with different women online, and someone reached out and asked if I would support her in her business as a virtual assistant. And it wasn't something I'd ever considered, but I would say that was really that starting step that kind of led me to where I am today. So I ended up working with her for a few years. A lot about the back end of a business and what works, what doesn't work. Also, what helped women keep going in their business. It turned out there that all of her clients were female coaches. So those were the types of businesses I was working in. And then I transitioned to online business manager and eventually a director of operations. And it's really just been the past couple of years when I've been in that director of operations role where I realized, I'm good at this, but I really want to help more people. And I can't do that in that role. And so I've been doing kind of that searching again, figuring out what do I want to do. And I realized that I'm really drawn to helping other women in business. And so that led us to just last year, I started free monthly networking calls and bringing women together to get to know each other, support one another, and found that that kind of opened a whole new world for me. And that led to creating the Solopreneur Sisterhood, which is just this community of women supporting women. So that's kind of my journey and where I am today.
Love it. So I love this talking point. I'm a big advocate for women supporting women, and it has become a much more popular topic and talking point. But I feel like sometimes what we say and the actions behind it are not always aligned. So I want to look at what that looks like from your perspective and what you're building, and maybe where you even see it going.
Oh, great question. Okay, so I will say that I think that I guess I've always felt a little bit different, or I might view things strangely. Because I will say, even when I've been doing things that I thought were normal and natural as far as reaching out, encouraging other women, I have been surprised by some of the reactions I've received, such as like, what's the catch? If I'm offering to help someone, there isn't a catch. There is just that kind of being on guard sense that women have. And I think that speaks to what you were talking about as, sometimes we have this on the surface being nice and supportive, but then really being kind of out for ourselves and competitive. And so I think women have learned to not totally trust other people. So what I'm doing, what I'm trying to build is just realizing that there's room for all of us and all of our gifts, that there isn't true competition, because even if you do similar work to someone else, your life experiences make you unique, and the way that you just naturally work on things is unique. And so instead of being in competition, just I really believe like the more of us who succeed, the better. And so how can we genuinely support other women? And sometimes that's just being a listening ear and saying, I'm with you, I'm supporting you, I'm cheering you on. Other times it's sending referrals to other business owners. Other times it's making introductions. So it's just really that idea of being in this together and wanting everyone to succeed. And so I think that's where I'm trying to go with the community, is helping women to genuinely get to know each other and support one another, and to also feel supported.
I'm part of the community, full disclosure, and I love it. And it is a lot of extra work on your part, I am sure. And that really leads into the next thing I want to touch on, which is when building community and when building a business, there is this expectation that women are going to do X, Y, and Z, whatever that is that they're doing, and almost they're going to do it for free, or it's going to be inexpensive,
Uh-huh.
maybe not valuing what women bring to the table. So I just want to look at what you might recommend when you see that, and how to support each other. Building this community, we're very supportive of each other inside the community. A lot of us buy from each other, we share. So how to almost establish your value and share that.
Okay. Yeah, it does take a lot of work. And so the first thing I would say is, be willing to continually evaluate what you're doing. And, I'm the first to tell people, if you want to succeed in business, it is going to take work. So the people who are complaining that, they put up one post and no one bought, yeah, we can't expect that. You show up to community once and no one bought anything from you. You have to build a relationship with people. But at the same time, be willing to give it a little time and then check in. How do you feel coming to this space? How do you feel spending time here? How do you feel when you're connecting with other women? If I think we've all been in places where it feels like we're building a genuine connection with people, and then we've been in other places where there's just nothing here for us. So allowing yourself, if it doesn't feel aligned, to try something else. And then I think as far as your value, what I really encourage people to do is to be helpful. I think that we have kind of been taught that we have to do these posts kind of establishing our expertise. But what I found most effective was if people were asking questions, to just demonstrate your expertise by answering their question, offering resources that help them, giving them recommendations. And then you kind of become known as that person. Oh, if I need, like, there's someone I'm thinking of right now, if I need any help with SEO, this is the one person I go to, because she's helped so many different people with that. She's one I would recommend no matter what. And she didn't come and say, I'm an expert on this. It's just she demonstrated her expertise by helping other people.
Oh, gosh, this brought up two questions. One, hopefully the first one is something that you might be able to answer. And also, hopefully it bleeds together your background as a coach, and also that business side and the women supporting women community. So you spoke about women speaking to their expertise and answering questions and volunteering things and
Mhm.
building their authority by sharing and giving. And guilty. I am super guilty of this. I want to help so much that I will come in, bull in a china shop, and literally just spew answers. And for some reason, I come off almost as abrasive. I think people like, whoa, whoa, back up. And how might you coach me on not coming off that way when I want to help so much?
Mm, that's a really good question. So the first thing I want to say is we can never control how someone else perceives us or what we're offering. Because I have been learning this a lot lately, in that you can put the exact like one thing out there and have people reacting completely different ways. And so I've had to learn a lot of like removing myself from that and just trusting like my intention with this was to be helpful. And if someone didn't take it that way, I can't control that. I will say one thing that I do, which is probably not a great habit, is I will read over what I have written over and over to think through how might this be taken by someone else. So I would probably recommend not doing it as much as I do. But for me, what I will do is I will limit myself as far as how much time am I taking in engaging. And I think that helps a little bit too, is that I met someone a couple weeks ago where she said she's on LinkedIn for 3 hours every day, just responding to people's posts, just commenting and trying to be helpful. And I don't have time for 3 hours a day for that. So maybe cut it down to 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I think if you limit yourself that way too, you have limited time to work with. So it's more just kind of your initial support rather than maybe giving them the whole solution. Yeah, I think that's where I would start with that, is kind of limiting yourself a little bit and also just kind of separating yourself from it a little bit.
Love that. This is called Hacking the Patriarchy. So for those tuning in, those were 2 hacks.
Okay.
Go back and listen to that section again. I love it. So before I went off on that tangent, you had been talking about community and selecting the community. You had touched on selecting the community that feels right,
Yes.
which I think is a great talking point. There are a lot of communities out there. There are now a lot of women communities, and each has its thing. But when you're looking at these communities and evaluating where you want to spend your time, what is the best approach to that you might recommend?
Another great question. So many ideas come to me at once. So I think the first thing is to join groups with intention. So, and this depends on your style. So I'm an introvert, and even spending a lot of time in groups online feels draining to me. So I know that I need to be selective in where I'm going to spend my time. So when you join a group with intention, I'm thinking through, why am I joining this group? Am I looking just to connect with other business owners, just to have support? Am I looking for potential clients? Am I looking for people I can collaborate with? What is my intention in being here? In some cases, I might be joining because the leader of the group teaches something that I want to learn in my business. So there are many different reasons, but why am I joining this? And when you're in that group, paying attention to how you feel. It took me the longest time to realize that when I was in certain groups, my mood would just drop. And I didn't make the connection. I would just suddenly be done with that engagement time and thinking, why do I suddenly feel so bad? And a lot of it could be different things. So I've had sometimes where I have to stop following someone because the comparison is just too much in my brain. That being there, I'm constantly comparing her success to my success, and I need to give myself a little break. There are some times where you're in a group and everyone is just promoting themselves, and there isn't that actual connection with anyone. And so for me, that doesn't feel aligned. I'm out. If you're in a group and they are supporting one another, pay attention to how they're supporting one another. I have been in some groups where, someone will have a question and everyone kind of jumps on them right away, or someone's thinking about doing something and everyone's telling them, don't do that, here's why. And there's a way to give advice to people that's supportive, and there's a way that kind of just tears people down. And so I would pay attention to the interactions in that community too. And then I would pay attention to, am I making actual relationships? Am I just part of a crowd, or am I getting to know some people in this community. And some of that comes back to us. We need to be able to make the effort to reach out to people and try to get to know them beyond just the community online. But part of that comes to that space too. Are people in there to genuinely connect with each other, or is it just they're hoping to get another client?
Want to honor your vulnerability in saying something there that I think is so important. You talked about comparing yourselves to other and having to unfollow, and first being vulnerable enough to say that I do compare myself to others and that it is not supporting my growth, and
Mm-hmm.
then giving us the hack, which truly, if you are compulsively doing something online, I highly recommend just not doing that. And then I also unfollow when I start to see when I see it affect me negatively. I'm like, oh, this
Mm-hmm.
is gotta cut that out. So thank you. Thank you for that. I want to pivot just a little, same topic, just a little bit of a pivot. So you started and run the Solopreneur Sisterhood, and I want to look at the background of why you created it, how it's going, and where you want to see it go.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, we're going to get very honest here with the how it's going part. So I will say this has been unusual for me in that normally I am an over planner. I will have an idea and I will think it through for months before I actually take action. And this is a case where early last year, I was intentional. I wanted to make new connections, really build up my network. It had been a while since I had done that. So I started off with coffee chats. And then I realized I was booking so many coffee chats and I was working later and later in the day. And I was like, I can't do this. I want to keep connecting with people, but I can't keep booking all of these one-on-one calls. I just don't have the time. So my solution was to do this free monthly networking call, Connect and Cultivate. The idea was just to bring women together and have 1 hour where we could have intentional small group chats and get to know each other that way. And I found that I enjoyed that time. And I had women reaching out saying that was great. Even women saying, I'm an introvert. I normally don't like networking, but that was a good experience. And they wanted to know if we could meet more often. And I was thinking, I don't really want to do calls all the time, but what could we do? So last fall, I did some market research and just, listening to more women. It was just a form. They could complete it anonymously. And I was struck by how many women are really struggling in their business. And even some who have been in business for 3, 4, 5 years. And I was thinking there has to be something we can do to make this journey easier, because I'm living proof of someone who had no background in business at all, who struggled for way longer than I wish I had, and eventually figured it out. And if I could make that journey easier for others, let's do it. And so the Solopreneur Sisterhood came together with just a couple of different options. So we do have the free community. We do also have a paid mastermind community. And so the idea for it was just to bring women together to a place where they could receive that support, receive that encouragement, build genuine connections, and not feel so alone. So as solopreneurs, we're the only actual employee in our business. So our journey is a little bit different than a lot of businesses because all the decisions come back to us. But my thinking is our success is really built on our relationships and the people that we know and support. And so if we could build that community of other women who kind of understand what we're going through and what this whole experience is like, I just thought that would be really empowering. And so we launched in November of 2024, and it's been an interesting journey. So I will say right now I am trying to figure out where we go from here. So we launched the free community in November, and we have, the free online platform. We also have free the networking calls once a month and some different workshops and guest speakers coming in. And then we do have the paid mastermind that started in January of this year. And so it's just been this very interesting journey. I will say that I definitely fell into the overgiving trap and reached a point just a few weeks back where I was thinking, can I keep going with this? And so that's when I reached out for support. And a number of different women did step up. And I've had some really good conversations with women too. about there are different options for how we might move forward. Maybe I let go of things a little bit and I don't feel like I have to keep over giving. Maybe I deliberately work with other women to have other people kind of step up into leadership for a week here, a week there, so I can have some time, downtime, I guess, from the group. And it might evolve over time. It's been a journey of realizing that my original vision might not be the final vision, and it's just the starting point. And so allowing myself to listen to different members and what I'm hearing and allowing the vision to evolve from there.
Yeah. So I want to point out for those tuning in to check out the community. And if you're not sold on just checking it out, check out the networking, because I will say, Becky, you have been very methodical. It is some of the best networking I've ever been to virtually. It is well thought out. It's well executed. It is brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to look at that a little bit. Running a community is a huge commitment, and it is actually a fairly substantial community, and it is free, so it grows quickly. I know that you're looking at what does that look like to the future, and when you're offering a free community, that is something I imagine you're going to evaluate many, many times. And having launched in November, it actually is fairly new. I want to look at what I don't know if you have been a member of other communities, and kind of within communities online for business in general, what might be really successful, what might really work, and then even looking at it from the lens of being a woman in a women's community and what makes those successful. I know that with a community this large, there's a lot of overlap. You did mention that there's enough work, and I am a big believer in that. There is enough work for everyone. But when we're all kind of in the same cog, I want to say we're in the same place, we might not know how to engage to expand and what you might think that looks like. I threw a lot at you there. There were like 5 questions.
Okay, I'm like, I don't know where to start. So I will start somewhere. Then if there was something I forgot,
Perfect.
just remind me. So yes, I think part of this actually came from my having paid a lot, way more than I wanted to, for different programs in recent years. We're talking thousands upon thousands of dollars. And a couple things that came up was, one, these kept being year-long commitments, which thinking back on, I was like, well, I changed a lot over the course of the year. So signing up for something at one point and committing to a whole year wasn't always a great fit. Two, I think a big part of why I was joining these communities, yes, there was another part of the program, but they really stressed that this was a community of women coming together. And I really wanted that. I love the flexibility of being able to work from home and have my own business. And there's a part that's kind of lonely about it at times. But even if I connect with other people in my neighborhood or my community, they don't understand what I do. I've tried explaining it many times and don't think it's a real job. So I really wanted that community of other women who understood. I also really believe that it would help me to grow in my business by being surrounded by other women who were at a similar stage. And what I found is, time after time, the community part of it didn't really exist. There was one group where we were supposed to have masterminds, and I wound up being in a mastermind with one other person, which, she was a lovely person, but that wasn't the experience I was looking for. There was another one where you were supposed to have, a mastermind, and you were supposed to have like a leader of this like small group coaching call. And our leader kind of dropped off. And so the coaching calls never happened. And each one said that they would have like this online space too, and nothing was happening. And so it just felt like this disappointment. When I built the Solopreneur Sisterhood, I was like, I really want the community piece to be there. And so I will say that's part of what I'm struggling with is there are some people showing up and there are some people who are there and not showing up. I'm having to recognize one, everyone's busy. And so, they might have the best of intentions and they might not be showing up. Two, I say this to clients all the time, but like no one's going to care as much about your business as you do. And so even though I'm like, this is such a great idea, it's a great place to be. Not everyone is going to be as passionate about it as I am. So I need to let that go. And I think that's part of that whole evaluating, okay, what does this look like? Maybe what I've had found fascinating is talking with so many women where they are having coffee chats with women who are in the community. They are making connections with people in the community. I'm not necessarily seeing it because it's not playing out online. So that's been a learning experience for me as well. And then I think as far as different women offering similar services, part of that is our own inner work, is that we're going to have to build up our confidence in ourselves and what we offer and what makes us unique in that way. So, for example, I know we have a number of different VAs in the community. Part of that could be because I'm connected with a lot of virtual assistants coming from the operations space, but each one has different things that she is gifted in. I've spoken with some where graphic design, they're great at that. Others, please don't give me graphic design projects. There are some where, if the business is a real big mess, please, no, I'm not your person because I don't want to have to deal with the chaos. And there are others who thrive on that. And so I think there is room for everyone. It's just going to be a case of us being confident in what we're doing. And then also, I think part of that confidence means that, if I interview with someone and I realize I'm not a good fit, saying, okay, here's this other person I know, they do the same type of work, and introducing them. And I've done that over the years. And so I think part of that is just teaching other people, encouraging other people to do that too. And trust, I really do believe like as we support other women more, like in some way that comes back to us as well.
Good karma.
Yeah.
I want to do a little bit of a pivot. We've really focused on this community aspect, which I do think women in business, it is so important. Find your tribe, find your community, get involved, get the support. But I want to look at outside of community, building connections. You've mentioned you're an introvert. I know that you are very empathetic. I want to choose my words wisely. You were very gentle in your approach. And I'm the complete opposite again. Well, in a China shop, I tend to be more on the masculine approach. It's that deep corporate background I cannot shake. I probably need therapy, whatever it is I need to work on there. But your approach is much more gentle, and I love that. So depending on kind of looking at your personality and who you are, what you bring to the table, how do you work with that to cultivate connection outside of a built-in community?
Yeah. So this is something that I just encourage everyone to find your way and what works for you. Because I will say that, again, I felt strange, weird, like there's something wrong with me that, other people love this social media and engaging on it. And I find it so draining. I can't get into it. It's like something I have to make myself show up for, and I hate most of it. And so I've learned over the years, okay, I don't have to do everything just because other people are telling me to do it. I will do things like LinkedIn. I will do a lot of connecting with people who, this looks like someone I want to get to know. And I'll do a lot of DMs as far as like, oh, I really love this post. I'm not great about commenting on people's actual comments because to me, that feels almost more like, well, one, you're part of a crowd. And two, it feels almost like a performance. Am I going to write something that's good enough for, what are people going to think? And so for me, just writing a note to someone saying I really appreciated this or this was really helpful, that's just more natural to me. And so that's how I've started to make more connections. I've also done, when we have the networking calls, if there are different people that I haven't had a chance to get to know that I'm connected with, I'll send them an invitation to it. And I do make it very like, no pressure, would love to have you connect with us. I try to stress, hey, I'm an introvert. networking is challenging for me, but we try to make this as easy as possible and as inviting as possible for everyone. And I've gotten more people to come on board that way. So I think part of it is just recognizing your personality, tuning into how you're feeling as you're doing things, and allowing yourself to kind of experiment with different ways of connecting with people.
I want to highlight something you said there. You have been a wealth of information. You have thrown out the hacks and they haven't been overt. They've just been perfectly planted. You threw one out there that I think is very important to highlight, which is DMing. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to be the first person to say it, maybe on this podcast, maybe it's just on the podcast. If you are posting thinking that's how you're going to get leads, you're probably very incorrect. Most likely your leads are going to come from cultivating relationships. And one of the best ways to do that is to actually gently DM someone.
Yes.
So you threw that hack out. That's important. Like going in and saying, I really liked this, or this was perfect. Would you want to join? Whatever that looks like for you that works, don't be afraid to DM.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, people get kind of weird about DMs. I think because some people do it in kind of a spammy way. But if I think about it, it's so unusual for someone to reach out and say, hey, I really appreciated this, or really, this really helped me today. And if someone does that for me, I really appreciate it. So the way I think about it is, hey, maybe this is the encouragement someone else needs. Maybe this can help to lift them up today. So I think if you can view it that way, like I'm not trying to sell them anything, I'm just, trying to be kind, that makes it a little bit easier.
It was a good point. I think that needs to be thrown out there. I love to wrap up the show with 3 hacks the listeners can take and go implement it today, tomorrow to get it done. This would be in joining a community, building a community, launching a community, or just finding the right fit, finding your tribe, maybe even a DM, a way to DM. I would love to get your 3 hacks for our listeners.
Ooh. Okay, so cutting it down to 3, because I just, again, you ask it, and all these ideas come up. So the first would be to take a little time and think through what do you need or what do you want as far as community? Whether that is, hey, I just want some business friends. I just want some people who understand what I'm going through. Or maybe I really want to collaborate with more people. So I want to expand my network. So just before you go anywhere, really tune into what do you want? What do you need right now? And then with that, I guess I would make a plan for where am I going to connect with these people. And when I like to make a plan like that, one of the things that gets me moving is I tell someone else I'm going to do this. Because if I say, hey, I'm going to do this collaborative interview series with other business owners, if I tell someone, hey, I'm going to do this and it's coming out on this date, then I'm going to do it because I've told someone else. But for me as a planner, if I'm just thinking of something, it could take a really long time to come out. So telling someone else about it. And then the third one I would say, it would be to, 1, track your progress, but with that also celebrate your actions. So for example, if I am looking to connect with 5 new people this week, I want to actually intentionally write down who am I connecting with and how did I connect with them. So I'm actually tracking, oh, I did this, because it's very easy, at least for me, to set a goal and just not really track it. But keeping a record of what did I try to do for this, I think that's helpful for you later on too, because you can see what works, what doesn't work. And then if you did that, so, I was just talking with someone earlier today where I was encouraging her. She has a new offer. I said, share it with 30 people in your community. So make a list. Who are you going to share it with? Make time in your schedule. Who are you reaching out to? And then find a way to celebrate at the end for doing that. Because I think that's one of these things too, is that we don't always automatically see the results of building relationships with people. So if you can find a little way, and when I say celebrate, I'm am an introvert. I like more quiet at home activities. So, I was talking with someone and she was like, oh, I want to go out dancing. I'm like, okay, go out dancing. That sounds like a nightmare to me, but if you love it, go do it. For me, it would just be, there's this book I've been wanting to read and I haven't actually given myself time to read it. So giving myself time to do that. Or maybe it's going out for a nice meal, whatever it is, just do something to celebrate yourself for taking that intentional action.
I love those 3 hacks because they were very intentional. And you made me think about the fact that when it comes to networking and being out there and putting yourself out there, you tend to have a plan in the physical world. You might have a marketing strategy or some kind of strategy to put yourself out there. But you might not, oh, let's use an example. I am not very intentional about the virtual networking. Very intentional about in person, very intentional about my marketing and my sales strategy, but actually networking virtually, I'm not very intentional about. So I loved that.
Great. Yeah, I think a lot of us aren't. It's just kind of, we're in these online spaces, we're having conversations, and we're not really tracking what's going on. So I have found that to be helpful for me. So I'm glad that's good.
The intentionality. If I could pull just a little more from you, I said it was going to be 3, but you did mention kind of having that plan and tracking it. Is there a recommendation on where you might do that? I know I handwrite notes and then I dig into those handwritten notes for weeks. And then finally I'm like, okay, in the trash.
Yeah. So I actually have, there are different tools you can use. I use something called Smart Suite, but I've walked other people through Airtable, works for it. And then you can set it up so there's a form even. So if you're having coffee chats, you could have it set up so that people fill out the form as they book a coffee chat with you. And then you have their information in this spreadsheet, basically. Otherwise, you could just enter their information in. But then I will sort people as like, what kind of connection are they? Are they a business friend? Do I potentially want to collaborate with them at some point? Is this a referral partner? In some cases, is this a potential lead? Just for your own purposes. So that way you kind of keep track of who these people are and how you might want to build that relationship. And then I do actually keep notes as far as like, what do they do? Who do they work with? When were we last in touch? And then when do I want to follow up? And so it's just a weekly kind of practice as far as going in and seeing who do I want to follow up with this week. And because you have your notes there, it's easier to follow up and remember like, oh, they have this launch happening. I can reach out and see how that went. Or in some cases, I did a summit last summer and there was a woman on there where her oldest child was going off to college in the fall. So in September, I reached out to her because I have a senior in high school right now. So I was like, I'm going to be there before I know it. So just checking in on her. So when you have those notes, it just makes it a little bit easier to follow up.
So good too, because there's that personal touch. If you take really good notes, there's that moment to jump in and follow up and you can be intentional and it doesn't seem so salesy or what am I going to get out of this? So I love that intention. A lot of intentionality in everything you've offered up today. I really love that. With your background, it makes sense. So, Becky, for those tuning in, where can they find you? How can they connect? What is the best way to get on your calendar or join the community, however you would like them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way would just be go to the solopreneursisterhood.com. And on that site, you will find links for the free community. And then there is also the information about the mastermind. And then we have links there too also about our monthly networking session. So if you just want to come to the free monthly networking session and you're not sure about the whole community, that's an easy way to get started.
Great. And I will put that in the show notes so it's easy access. Becky, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me in this conversation today. I so appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. It has been wonderful talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to today's episode. For all the juicy deets on this episode, be sure to check out our show notes or give us a holler on Instagram at Hacking the Patriarchy Podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support this podcast, don't be shy. Please share it with your friends. Sharing is caring after all. Lastly, if you'd like to lend your personal support, please take a moment to tell the world about it with a review on your favorite streaming platform. We'd be forever grateful. Tune in again soon to enjoy a brand new episode of the Hacking the Patriarchy podcast. And until next time, keep on hacking, my friends.